When I married James Miller 10 years ago, I knew blending our families would be far from simple. I had a daughter, Emily, from my first marriage, and James had a 13-year-old son named Michael. We both promised that no matter how complicated things became, we would raise our children with love, patience, and honesty. Over the years, we managed to build something that resembled harmony. Our family dinners were filled with laughter, our Saturdays with football, and every summer, we'd escape to the beach for a vacation. To anyone looking from the outside, we were the picture of a happy, ordinary American family trying to make life work. But beneath that surface, as I would later learn, were truths that would shatter everything we believed we had built. Michael was always a bright and driven young man. By the time he left for college, he had become our pride. James often said with a gleam in his eyes, "That boy's going to make something big out of his life." Emily adored her stepbrother, and even though he teased her like older brothers do, she looked up to him with admiration. To me, Michael was a complex soul, charming and ambitious like his father, yet sometimes I saw a flicker of restlessness in him, a desire for more than what life easily offered. I never gave it much thought then, not realizing how that hunger would one day lead him down a darker path. After college, Michael graduated with a business degree and landed a solid job in finance in Chicago. We were thrilled when he called to tell us about his engagement to a kind young woman named Sarah, whom he'd met during his senior year. Sarah was gentle, well-mannered, and had a calming presence that drew people in. I remember telling James, "She's exactly what Michael needs. She'll keep him grounded." The wedding took place at a beautiful vineyard in Illinois. Michael looked proud, Sarah radiant. None of us could have imagined that beneath that perfect moment, cracks were already beginning to form. A year into their marriage, James and I visited them in Chicago. Sarah greeted us warmly, cooking dinner and chatting cheerfully about her job as a teacher. Michael seemed confident and successful, already climbing his way up the corporate ladder. But I noticed something off. He was glued to his phone, taking calls that seemed to pull him away even in the middle of dinner. At one point, I caught Sarah watching him with a faint trace of sadness before she forced a smile. I brushed it off then, but it lingered in the back of my mind. Months passed before the truth came crashing down. One evening, our phone rang. It was Sarah. Her voice trembled as she said, "I don't know who else to talk to." My heart sank. She explained that Michael had grown distant, coming home late, guarding his phone, and avoiding her questions. "At first I thought it was work stress," she whispered. "But last week I found messages, long, emotional ones, from another woman. He says things to her that he hasn't said to me in years." James sat beside me, his face tightening. "No," he muttered, "not Michael." But the pain in Sarah's voice told us everything. She wasn't angry, just broken. "I love him," she said through quiet tears. "But I don't know how to reach him anymore." That night, James called his son. I overheard bits of the conversation, his voice heavy with disbelief and fury. "Michael, what have you done? She loves you, and you're throwing it all away. Do you realize what this is doing to her? To us?" Michael didn't deny it. Instead, he confessed. He'd been living a double life, torn between the comfort of his marriage and the thrill of something forbidden. When James hung up, he looked years older. "I raised him to be better than this," he whispered. I placed my hand on his shoulder, but there were no words left to ease that kind of hurt. The weeks that followed were chaos. Sarah moved in with her sister, unable to face the lies. Michael called often, sometimes defensive, sometimes remorseful. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he said one night. "But Dad, I felt trapped. I wanted excitement, freedom. Sarah deserved better than the man I was becoming." James tried to reason with him. "Son, marriage isn't about excitement every day. It's about commitment, even when it's hard. Do you understand what your choices are doing to everyone who loves you?" On the other end, silence, then quiet sobs. That was the first time I realized he wasn't simply reckless. He was lost. One weekend, Sarah agreed to come over. She sat at our kitchen table, her hands trembling, eyes red from crying. "I don't hate him," she said softly. "But I don't recognize him anymore. The man I married promised to stand beside me. Now it feels like a stranger is wearing his face." Emily, now in her 20s, sat beside her, gently taking her hand. "You don't deserve this pain," she said. "But maybe Michael needs help too. Maybe he doesn't even know how to fix what he's broken."